Are doing buildings
We
this
are
time, aren't
buildings, structures, and bridges. Here we have a mech inside. So we have a Wolverine here. All right.
Yep.
So he can take some pot shots at Bazza. So
Yes.
Wolverine, he's got like SRM 6s, and I think he had like a large laser and medium lasers. There's a number of choice of weapons that he has.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say you just wanted to shoot his large laser at him, okay? So you work out all your target numbers as you normally would. The building itself doesn't generate a negative modifier for cover.
No.
You can see the mech in there. That's fine.
Yep.
So you make your attack roll. Let's say we've hit with the weapon. So a large laser does 8 points of damage. Now this is a light building, so it will absorb. Trying to remember how much. Sorry, I've just had a mind blank.
75% of the damage goes to...
That's for infantry.
Oh, that's for infantry.
So I think the CF divided by 10, that's how much damage it will absorb. That's right. That's how much damage it will absorb. And the extra damage is then applied to the target that you're shooting at.
Yep.
So this guy, let's assume, I don't know, he's walked in there, so it's going to do damage. Let's assume he's got, I don't know, CF of 10 left. For argument's sake, it's nice and easy.
The CF will be damaged when he moves in there.
Yeah.
Because he's moving into a building, so he's going to damage it by a certain amount, and the movement phase will end. So when the weapon attack phase starts, that CF is now reduced.
That's correct.
So you have to go by the start of the phase,
what
the CF is.
So if the CF is 10 at the start of the phase, even though everyone's shooting and the building's taking damage or that sort of thing, it's for that entire weapon attack phase, it's going to be considered CF 10 for working that out.
And yeah, so you've got from each attack that hits a unit inside the building, the hex absorbs an amount of damage equal to its CF at the beginning of the current phase, divided by 10 rounded up.
Yeah. So that'll block 1 point of damage, but hey, 1 point's 1 point. We'll take that. So 7 points will then be applied as you normally would shooting at somebody, roll on the table.
And so, clusters and things are all counted as separate hits. So you take the CF off of each cluster. So LRMs, if you've got LRMs or LBX, I was trying to think of the shotgun one. So the other cluster stuff, if you've got that, then each one is considered a separate thing.
And that's quite good. Like we're talking about the SRM. He had SRM 6 if he'd fired that. So it's taking 1 point of damage off each of those missiles that would have actually done damage.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's very good. So for something like that, it's pretty cool.
If you want to shoot at a building, they are immobile. So neg 4 bonus to hit. And if you're adjacent...
You automatically hit.
You don't need to roll.
You hit maximum.
Yeah, even with your clusters.
Yeah, so all of your cluster stuff will hit at full rate. So if you've got an LRM 20 and you're firing from point blank range, doesn't matter. And it will hit for 20 points of damage.
Yeah, but that's hitting the building, not shooting at someone inside. If you're just attacking the building, that's
But you can hit that building, and in the example we just said, if you have say an LRM 20 and it hits for maximum damage, you will collapse that section off building.
Yeah.
And it will bring it down on top of the mech that's inside there.
Yeah. So that's level 3. He's inside there.
He'll be at level 0. He's considered 1 level high, which is the time and space thing.
It's a bit weird. We'll get to that in a second. But
So he's got 3 levels above him. Basically, he's at level 0.
Yep.
He's considered level 1, so there's 3 levels above him, which means he's taking his CF, whatever it was, 10 divided by 10 so 1, and multiplied by the 3.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot of damage.
But it still applies,
Yeah, and it means you can't hide in the hex anymore.
But I mean, even though, like, if you were firing enough weapons, even though it was blocking some of the attacks as they come in, you're doing so much little bits of damage. You only need like 10 different types of hits to whittle it down to nothing. So you're doing damage to the guy inside, and then you bring the building down.
Yeah. Well, in the SRM example, each one of those missiles that hits will do 1 point of damage to him and 1 point of damage to the building.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's, if you've got a 6 rack and they all hit, that's 6 points
There's 6
each.
off there. Yeah, with enough guns.
You can do
You
it.
can do
You
it.
can definitely do it. Oh dear, it's all weird.
So you can shoot out of a building, like in this sort of situation. There's nothing's blocking line of sight or anything like that. So
No.
you can shoot out of the building. Shooting out of the building does not damage the building.
No.
It's only shooting into it. Okay. So that's quite good. So it's extra armor. You just got to be careful when the CF starts getting a bit low. You might want to leg it.
Yeah, I was going to say,
pick your building.
Being in the building for a mech is probably. I don't know if it's a like seriously viable tactic. It works, and you can absorb, as we've just seen, you can absorb a lot of damage if you're getting pummeled by stuff.
Yeah.
But just walking into a building for the heck of it, I mean, you could be in trouble.
Well, the thing is, if you've got rows and rows of these buildings, as you do in cities, there's your roadways and things like that. If you don't have jump, but you're like a heavier mech or whatever, you just walk right through. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
It's.
And if you're in some sort of campaign and you're the one that's attacking, you don't care if the buildings are still standing up, so you just walk through them.
That's right.
Just take your atlas and boop, 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 boop. Oh, did they all collapse? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Whoops. Or you take
you're going to occupy the planet afterwards might be a bit of an issue with the local populace, but that's.
I mean, with a low level light building, what's a good one? Ooh, heavy PPC? Gauss rifle.
Okay, 15 points.
Right, 15 points in one shot, so you can bring the whole thing down with one shot from one weapon. If you get a decent assault mech with like a heavy weapons platform type thing, you could probably bring a bunch of light, especially if there's infantry in there.
Exactly right.
You can bring a lot of buildings down in one turn of shooting.
Yeah.
So it's, if you're getting peppered by infantry or tagged by infantry or whatever, it's definitely worth looking at.
It seems to be the two strategies. You either move out of range of them because it's just going to take so long to get through, or you just bring the building down.
Yes.
That's
so I mean
really it.
If we have this fella do his jumping on top of this thing again, and we have an infantry unit in that bottom hex.
Yeah.
So let's say for some bizarre reason the infantry was hiding in the lower level of that hex and, say, tagging someone and bringing LRMs and arrow and all that sort of stuff in. A viable option, not a sensible option, a viable option is for that mech to jump on top of that hex, that building hex, and collapse it on top of the infantry.
Yeah.
If you can bring it down with weapons fire, you're better off because you're not going to take any damage then. But sometimes it's difficult to do. Something like a Locust or some of the lighter mechs, you're not going to have enough damage output in one single weapon attack phase to bring even a light building down.
Yeah, that's right.
So jumping on top of it, I mean, even a Locust will collapse that, or Spider or whatever, even a 20-ton mech will collapse that building hex.
Yeah,
that's okay, because it only has a CF of 15. And you'll bring that whole hex down on top of the infantry, and because they're at the very bottom, they take that levels, so it'd be 15. Let's assume it's at full health. It's 15, so it's 2. Collapsed by 4 levels, so it's 8. And for infantry, standard everyday infantry, you triple that damage.
Yeah.
So that's 24 points of damage to a standard infantry unit. I think that wipes it out, doesn't it?
21 troopers for a jump and 28 for foot troops. So
nearly wipes it out.
Yeah.
So there'll only be 4 guys left in a full standard infantry.
Yeah.
And a jump infantry will be wiped out.
And if they're not doing like tagging for artillery and things like that, they're not going to do much more damage after that.
No
one's going to really worry about them. But
like I say, if you can bring it down with weapons fire, that is your best option. And someone like him with the PPC and some lasers and stuff, you could probably bring a 15-point building down in one turn.
Yeah,
assuming you got a decent pilot.
So because the terrain is destructible but does offer protection, it can drag on a game a little bit. Just keep that in mind, especially if you want to really use the protection. There are some units that can't go into them, obviously, like Widgies and VTOLs. VTOLs can land on top, obviously. Aircraft or aerospace, they can't. But aerospace will probably just bomb it. That's what they do.
I was going to say most aerospace units would be able to strafe that or bomb that and bring it down.
You can shoot up and down in a building
Yes.
as well. So each floor, each level that separates you, it acts like light woods. So it will +1 to hit, and if you've got enough of them, you can't shoot through.
Yep.
That also applies to attacking into an adjacent building.
Yep. Or multi-hex buildings.
Yeah, multi-hex buildings and adjacent. As long as they're adjacent, that will still count.
Yeah. So each level between you counts as light woods, and each hex between you counts as light woods.
Yeah.
So you can get that blocking line of sight 3 points. So each light woods is a +1.
Yeah.
So you can get that 3 points fairly quickly in a multi-hex, multi-level building.
True. Yeah. So really tall buildings or whatever, if you've got enough distance separated, you don't have to worry about someone shooting at you.
But yeah, if you've got, say, an infantry unit sitting towards the top of the building, like in the upper level except the roof, and then the mech lands on the roof and the whole thing doesn't collapse, then they can shoot each other. But yeah, there'll be that +1 for cover and all that sort of stuff.
Physical attacks are a bit different. You can only do physical attacks if you're in the same building.
Yep. So it's kind of like water. You can only really hit things in water if you start the attack in the water. So you can only kick things that are prone in water. So if the attack starts in the building, then you can hit things in the building. So you'd have to be in adjacent spaces.
So this sort of situation, so assuming that they're at ground level, they're in an adjacent hex and they're in the same building, so kicking, punching, whatever they have available is a thing. It's fine.
Yeah. And that's another thing you're going to have to do if you are putting buildings into your games, is figure out some sort of system between you all that will tell you what point that mech is. Because right now, if you just look at it, you can't tell whether he's landed on the roof or if he's supposed to be in the bottom, right? So you need some sort of marker, some sort of token, something that will tell you what level that is. And most mechs can only be either ground level or top level.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Unless they had like we were saying before, it lands on the roof, you can then move into the.
Or if you get like a cliffside, like an industrial building up against a cliffside, you could walk into it from the cliff.
You could do that kind of thing, couldn't you? No, we'll take that off.
Yep.
You could have like that.
Yep. So technically, he can walk into the. He can either move up and go onto the roof, or he can move into the lower, the level that is just under the roof, so the third level. Yeah.
Wouldn't even need to jump up there either. You could, because you can change.
Because you could technically walk up there, or you could walk up there and do it. Or you can walk from that hex that you're in now straight into the building.
Yeah. So walk straight in at this level essentially.
And then if you walk out of the building anywhere other than there, you'll fall. So be careful with that.
So yeah. But it's that's kind of cool though, because you can work your way up and then you can just do the old King Kong thing and go along the top of the buildings and
grab a VTOL and go. Dear oh dear.
I don't know what else was there. Buildings.
So that is
that's the basics. They have basements, so you could. There's a table in there where you can basically roll at random to see if the building has a basement, and then it gives you some other little things. They can fall further in. Like there's level 2 basements, so if you have vehicles and they fall in there, they're pretty much screwed.
They're basically trapped for the rest of the game.
But I mean, they do work at that each location may or may not have a basement. So if you're doing that, so if the vehicle, say, was in this one and falls down, and then this one collapses for what other reason. So if he fell into a level 2 basement and then this one collapses and you roll and it happens to be level 1,
then a ramp.
He's all right, because he can change one elevation. It becomes a standard hex, not a building. It's just got rubble.
Yeah, it's just the rubble, and you've got to make rolls and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but he can then just drive out. So that's good.
Yeah. If you're going to put buildings into your game, then the best way to do it to start with is to work it all out beforehand, right? Don't leave it to random chance. Work it all out beforehand. Go, we're going to have 3 buildings and like I say, write it down, say what ones they are, so everybody knows and everybody can muck around with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying to you before, you could have like a campaign, so the person that is defending the city is the only one that knows what the buildings are. So you can set them up beforehand. You could say, okay, so I've got my city here. There's half a dozen buildings, and I've got a little token that I've written it on, and I've put it face down, right? So only I know that that's a light building with a 2-level basement, right? Only I know that's a hardened thing with a laser turret in it.
Oh, hey.
But that would be a way to like beef up your campaign plays to do something like that.
An objective based missions in buildings and things like in urban environments are quite challenging. They're actually they're a lot of fun.
And that would
stressful, but they're fun.
I was going to say that would lead to the attacker having extra stress because you don't want to jump your Atlas on top of something and realize it's not hardened.
Yeah.
You don't even want to jump your Locust or your Spider or something on top of something if you suddenly find out it's only a light building.
Yeah.
Because they'll take some serious hurt from that fall damage. Don't doubt it. They will. But yeah, you can muck around with them. Like I say, you could have a big cliffside like mine or something. If there's anybody out there that's into modding like tables and terrain types and stuff like that, you could have like a big cliffside mine that's multi-levels, and then the cliff comes in, and you could have big basement sections and stuff. That would be really cool. That would be really, really cool.
But they do have rules for structures that are actually open inside. Think of it like a big aircraft hangar. So it has multiple hexes. It occupies multiple hexes, but when you're inside moving, there's no things blocking you. It's nice and open. You're not taking any damage as you move through. Yeah, and they're quite good too. So there's a lot of big factories like that, like Martel lasers and all that sort of thing. They have these big factories to make all those medium lasers. So
that's all the mech factories would have something like that.
Yeah,
because they'd have to be able to walk the mechs around and move them in and out of the factory.
Yeah.
So.
So it's sort of playing in one giant building, but you're not sort of leaving it.
That would be cool. That would be very cool. But yeah, you can have 3 hex level 30 skyscraping, gravity defying things that are like hardened military buildings. You can have little hut type things around the place that you can just squash.
Yeah.
You can do all sorts of stuff with the buildings, but you need to, for the sake of your own sanity, I would say, you need to be able to find some way to mark down or note down what the CF, current and initial, is. Some sort of running total if you can. So you can do that way. And just a way to mark out the thing. If you've got models like this, gold, brilliant. Like I say, if you haven't got them, just get a bit of card or a bit of plywood or something. It's fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. You could even build your own and have them with the actual levels marked out as a gap where you can put your units.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
Well, a lot of people like to, I've seen it on Google or whatever it is. So they'll have like the maps that you get in the box sets, and they'll make 3D bits. So they'll have like woods. They'll make the 3D woods and you can have little buildings to that scale, and just, they don't have to be they don't have to be too fantastic. As long as a unit can stand on top of it, that's pretty much all you need.
Yeah, you just need a hex base with a space at the top of the building for stuff to get on top of the building.
And that's it.
And fall through it.
Speaking of falling through it, we're going to talk about bridges as well. We did a scenario where there was a bridge on the map.
Yes.
Like that. We're going to talk about it. But
and we've done our skidding thing.
Yeah. So we will do that now. So a bridge will have more than one hex, for example. Yeah. And normally it'll traverse like some water or a big open ravine sort of thing. So each, like a building, each hex has a CF, and it can support that weight, things like that. So as soon as something enters that's heavier, it'll collapse. That hex will collapse.
Boom. And if you get over half of a building, the whole building, the whole bridge will collapse.
Yeah. So if you've got, say, 4 hexes, and you've got one hex separating 2 units that are too heavy, and they fall, the middle section will also collapse, obviously, because gravity,
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as well. So I think it's important to actually, if you're going to do a scenario, make sure that both players know what the CF of the building, of the bridge is at least.
Yeah.
The buildings, you can keep it a secret for fun, but a bridge, I think that would be...
Scroll.
But you could rig it to blow. You
Well,
could
that's...
do whatever. It's like...
The invading army does not take the time to go, well, golly gee whiz, that's a heavy building. I wonder if I can take my dude on top of it. But for a bridge, it's like a major traffic point. It's a major choke point. They might have some sort of way of like maybe spying out what the construction level of that bridge is.
Yeah.
So
well, the engineers would probably give you a rough idea.
Yeah.
They know, that's got this and this. And...
Yeah, you'll take like satellite photos or low strafing run photos or spy run photos or something like that, and you'll have a decent idea. So maybe you could have it so the invading army gets the CF to within, say, 5.
Oh, yeah, that's all right. That's quite generous. And see what happens. But,
tell him it's 20 and it's only 15. And it's,
they generally don't like destroying bridges because, like you said, it sort of links locations. Better to control them. That way you've got the advantage.
Yeah.
But it's just something to think about.
And the point being that most bridges won't really be light because they're going to be driving... Like if it's a military area, then they're going to be driving heavy vehicles and things over it all the time.
Yeah,
so it's like you wouldn't have it as a light bridge. Like urban bridges and things like that could quite easily be a light structure. So
yeah, it depends. Yeah, I mean something like the Golden Gate Bridge or the Sydney Harbour Bridge, which can hold a lot of traffic.
A lot of traffic.
So that would probably be right up to heavy or hardened at least. Hardened, definitely.
Quite possibly.
Probably a lot bigger than the 150, I'd say.
150 tons per hex.
Per hex.
What's a hex?
30 metres.
It's 30 metres. 150 tons in 30 metres.
Well, I mean, what does an average car weigh? I don't know.
10, 5.
Something like that.
Couple. Well, all the plastic and stuff they have in these days is probably only 2.
Gust of wind, the car's gone. Yeah.
Oh dear.
No, but that's it. But that's buildings. They are a lot of fun. They can be tactically. They can be very, very good depending on if you're the defender and what units you have and things like that.
Yep.
But I thoroughly recommend that people play at least one game with buildings.
Give them a try.
Because honestly, it will teach you some tactics that you probably didn't think were valid.
Yep.
It's really, really good.
Definitely. And especially if you go into mixed unit, like mixed
like combined
unit
arms
types.
and stuff.
Combined arms, that was the word I was looking for. So if you're going into combined arms units, then having infantry and that sort of thing in there and getting them into an urban environment is really good.
Yeah.
They can do some super powerful stuff in there.
So quad mechs are good for their lateral shift, and tanks are good because they've got turrets normally. So
yes,
you want to you don't want to kill zone. You want to try and survive. So and the urban mech, of course.
Yes.
So if we will have some games in the city, we'll have to fire up the urban mechs and give those a crack because that's their home ground.
But if you think about the layout of the biggest city nearest you, and then imagine like a 30 or 40 ton mech walking through that, like on the road, and infantry shooting at it from the buildings and vehicles coming around the corner and sort of stuff.
Yeah.
They can be exciting games.
That's right.
Very exciting games. So give it a crack.
Yeah. So that's it.
Definitely.
All right. So buildings and structures and whatever, I think they're fun. Give them a go.
Hopefully we've covered everything that you need to know, but you know at least enough to give it a crack.
But that's it. You know where it is. We told you the bay was at 166 it starts in the Total Warfare book. So have a good read through there and just get yourself up to speed. If there's anything we've missed, let us know. Put in the comments because we want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. We want to make sure we're trying to give information, the accurate information to people as best we can.
If we bugger it up, let us know.
Yeah, let us know and let everyone knows. That's good. Okay.
All good.
Thank you.
All right.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
I think I only need one. Hey!
Oi! Oh! Pretend you can hear us and that's upsetting you.
No.
That'd be more fun. There you go. You see? Now we're having fun.